Hello. Welcome to the Nerdy Folks Podcast, a conversation about the nerdy things we love and the things that matter most. My name is Matthew Seipel Anderson.
And I'm Katie Seipel Anderson.
We are your hosts. We love this community, and we are glad you are with us. Well, Katie, have people been abducted by aliens?
I will solidly say people have claimed to be abducted by aliens.
Good answer. Good strategic answer. Well, that is the topic of our show today. Have people been abducted by aliens? And we have a story from one of my youth group students. If you listened to last week's episode, we had a story, and Katie and I had to guess if it was...
And I totally got it wrong. It was a good story.
It was good, yeah. They did a good job. So this week we're going to listen to another student story, and we have to decide if it's a complete fiction or if it's a purportedly true story. Katie, are you ready?
I think so. Kids are a little tricky. I don't know.
All right. I am sitting here with Mr. Noah Ruiz. Noah, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Well, Noah has a story for us today, and this story, we don't know if it is a story that he made up or if it's a story that is purportedly true. It has to do with aliens. So go ahead. What's your story?
So there was this man, Devin Stark, in 1961. He reportedly got abducted by aliens.
Okay.
Along with this couple from Delaware or somewhere like that.
Wait, all three of them got abducted?
Yeah.
Are there any more details about the abduction?
Well, he said that he was apparently taken into this small room with just a bed, and every now and then some gas would come out of these little holes in the wall, and he would fall asleep, and he'd wake up back in the room with some stitches on his body somewhere or missing a body part.
But he survived.
Yes. According to Devin Stark, he woke up one time and his left leg was missing.
All right.
And then the next time he had these stitches on his body. And the next time after that, he lost his right pinky finger.
These are some good specific details. All right, well, we're going to go now, and Katie and I are going to deliberate whether this story is a completely made-up story or whether it's a purportedly true story about an alien encounter. Katie, just listen to the story.
I did it. I just did it first last time. I've already decided you're going to have to be the one to choose this time.
Okay, all right, so here's what I'm going to do.
But can we ask questions? I suppose we can't, because I want to know if he's still missing the limbs or if those limbs came back.
That would be truly fascinating if the aliens removed limbs and then they just grew back.
I don't know. It would make the story seem a lot more true or not true if you can verify such facts.
This one seems a lot more wild than the first one we listened to. However, for fun, and being that I've read a handful of these stories now, I'm just going to say this is a purportedly true story.
It's pretty outrageous.
It's pretty outrageous.
I'll do what you did last time, and I'll just go with false. Because if he's claiming he lost limbs or something, and all of a sudden he shows up to everyone, and they're like, "You still have your limbs?"
Yeah, it's a pretty far-fetched story. Well, you've got the paper with the answer. So what is our answer?
Do we need a drum roll?
How about I do a laser blast when we hear the answer?
Ready? It is false.
Yeah, not too surprising.
He must have made some of that up as he went. And the pinky.
The pinky was a nice touch.
It was a nice touch.
So I've got a story that is a purportedly true abduction story. It's actually one of the kind of OG stories of alien abduction that seems to have influenced.
Oh, gee. I'm looking at Matt like he's crazy right now. I should probably know what that stands for.
It stands for Original Gangsta.
Oh, for crying out loud.
So
I don't feel bad for not knowing that one.
this is
How do you know that one? Did you make that up?
No, I did not. But I am not at liberty to divulge my sources.
Ah, okay.
So this case has come to be known as the Barney and Betty Hill case. And of course, it's Barney and Betty Hill, Barney and Betty Hill, not Benny, who claim that they were abducted. So the story goes that they were driving late at night. They lived out on the East Coast. I believe it was New Hampshire. And they saw this strange light, and it seems like they blacked out for a time. And when they came to, several hours had passed. And in the days that followed, they just felt not the same. They felt weird. And so they were having trouble sleeping and all this stuff. So they ended up going through hypnosis. They were hypnotized. And while they were hypnotized, they claimed that these repressed memories resurfaced of the time where they were driving and they blacked out, and they had these memories of being abducted by aliens and being examined, and it was all very disturbing. And so they think that's what accounts for all their feelings after this strange experience that they had.
That is strange.
And it made a big splash, and somebody wrote a book about their experience, and it was fairly popular, and there was even a made-for-TV movie in the 70s about this. So that really catapulted the whole alien abduction thing into the popular conscious.
Well, and around that same time, isn't that when like Star Wars and Star Trek and all of those things, right in the 70s there?
That's a good point.
Star Trek, I think, was a little before that even. Didn't that one start in the 60s?
Yeah, so Star Trek was around, Star Wars would be coming out late 70s. So
the idea of aliens was out there a lot more at that point.
Yes, it was. And then there is another case from our home state, good old Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Now, if you're not from Minnesota and you come visit, you might believe there are many aliens walking the streets of Minnesota.
They're just nice aliens. It's Minnesota nice.
They just don't have enough exposure to sunlight. It makes us all a little strange up here. Just in the winter. Come in the summer.
I'm not going to agree with that.
Minnesota is a great state, and I love it. And I even enjoy the winter. But there is a story, again from the 70s, of a police officer up in northern Minnesota who was driving late at night, middle of the night, claims that he saw a strange light flying around, and it came into his car, and he hears the sound of breaking glass, and then he blacks out. And he wakes up sometime later, and his watch and his car clock had missed like 14 minutes of time. Like they were off by 14 minutes, and he had these strange burns and didn't really know how to explain what happened to him. And so believes that he was abducted by aliens.
Weird. And the clock and the watch were still working? They had just lost 14 minutes?
Yeah.
It wasn't that they just stopped working.
I guess.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Were these burns verified?
To my knowledge...
I like the hard facts here. Come on, can we verify this?
You know what? I can't speak to that.
Well, you know what? Either way, whether it can be verified or not, for someone to come forward with stories like these, they have to really believe it. Whether there's some scientific explanation, spiritual explanation, or some other type of explanation for it besides aliens, or if it actually is aliens. It has to be a life-changing event.
In fact, his story was even referenced on shows like The X-Files and Fargo, and the police car. I don't know if this is still the case, but for a long time, it was on display at the Marshall County Historical Society in Warren, Minnesota. Your
life would just turn chaos after something like that. I guess we all have major life experiences. They just probably aren't as public as that. And probably aren't alien abduction
Right.
life experiences.
Let me tell you a theory about alien abduction that ties into life experiences. It ties into a life experience that we've all had. It's a major life experience, but most of us don't remember it. Cornell astronomer and popular science writer Carl Sagan once suggested that memories of alien abduction recovered during hypnosis are actually latent memories of the human birth experience.
Because I suppose, especially if you were born in a hospital, if you're having a memory of being born and being prodded and lights and people and your eyes, baby's eyes aren't quite developed yet. So I'm sure everything kind of looks blurry and weird.
And people are in masks and they have surgical
They have those little
garb
weird head
on.
things too when you think about it. They have those like oftentimes green or something, those like hairnet things. Interesting.
Maybe we've all got a latent memory of our own little alien abduction at the time of our birth.
Coming out of that warm, nice womb into the cold, hard world.
Although one of our children, I won't say which one, had quite the cone head when they were born. I mean, they look like an alien.
That's true. It turned normal, though.
Yeah. Well, this is actually a good jumping off point because our own birth and also having children is a huge life-changing event for us.
Oh, man. It is. Having children is a life-changing event, and it just kind of keeps on changing you as they grow and develop. You have to grow and develop, too.
And these life-changing events can be hard. Even having children, it's a joyful thing. There is some pain associated with it, physical pain certainly.
Yeah.
But also emotional pain.
Whether you have kids, so your lifestyle has to change, you take on a new job that's harder than you expected, you make a move and you're in a new place that feels like an alien place because it's totally different, like maybe coming from Chicago to Winona, Minnesota, or to a northern Minnesota town would feel a little probably alien.
Absolutely. And also experiencing deaths in your family. We've both experienced that. Normal ones, but also unexpected. And then all of a sudden your normal life feels a little alien because loved ones are gone and life has changed.
Some life experiences are more like kind of slow and percolating. Some are like fast and hard and you feel like chaos. Either way, you can feel really unsettled during those times of transition, times of hardship. The Bible even promises trials and tribulations here on earth. It can be really hard to walk through those times. Especially sometimes when there's not a specific event, when it just seems like life is chaotic and out of control.
I think it's really good to remember that life does have seasons like this so that when you're going through something, you can pause and just remember that this is part of life, difficulties in different seasons. In fact, there's a passage in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and I won't read the whole thing. It's actually... This was used for a song in the 70s. We've been talking about the 70s, but if you remember I can't really sing it, but to everything turn.
Why do you always go in like the female range when you sing?
Because it's high. The dude sings it to everything turn. Okay, you know the song anyway. Let me just read the scripture. It says,
I think that's a good idea.
There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven. And then it goes on to give examples, like a time to give birth and a time to die and to plant and to uproot. And life does have these seasons. I think if you're going through a seasonal change or a difficult time right now, I would just encourage you, don't make any rash decisions out of emotion. I think sometimes, especially when a change comes to your life that is unexpected and you're kind of just put into a tailspin, it's really good to, as much as possible, try not to do anything rash out of emotion. Would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I also believe that it's also good to look for the stabilizing factor. Wow, all this stuff is crazy. I don't know what I believe. I don't know how I feel. But I do know, and kind of the base factor for me, it's I know that Jesus saved me, or I know there's a God who created me. There can be that stabilizing factor. And if you don't know that piece, and if that piece of it is part of the chaos, I encourage you to truly seek the truth and truly seek God with like a humble heart so that he can reveal himself during those times of chaos. To bring that stability doesn't necessarily change the chaos, but it can stabilize you and give you a peace during those times of chaos.
Yo, DJ!
Hey, I was thinking about that song to every. What is that name of that song? To every
I
season,
think it's
turn,
called.
turn,
I think
turn.
it's just called "Turn, Turn, Turn."
Isn't that a '70s song?
Yeah,
Maybe they had aliens on their mind
it's quite possible.
when they did the song.
Well, speaking of new and exciting things, we got a new email address.
Were we speaking of new and exciting things? I don't think we were.
Speaking of old and exciting things, which reminds me of new and exciting things.
There we go. There's the thought process.
We got a new email address for the show, info@nerdyfolks.com.
Now you have to email us because
We-
that's a really cool email
We got
address.
a grown-up email address. Very exciting.
It is. I am pretty ridiculously excited about that.
Well, I hope that this show has encouraged you today. It was a lot of fun, again, for us to put it together. If you want to connect more with us, head over to our website, nerdyfolks.com. You can connect with us that way. You can email us, info@nerdyfolks.com. And we love you. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And we'll be talking to you again very soon.